synagogue. Okay, this will eventually be on the synagogue's YouTube channel, so you can share with others later in the week. But I do want to begin, and I want to begin by expressing my gratitude towards Shmuel Shattach for being available. He's the CEO of Ne'amanei Torah Avodah, which is an organization that I had for many years wanted to find ways to connect our congregation to. They are representing the form of Judaism in the state of Israel that I believe our synagogue is trying to promote here in Chicago. And he actually was a shliach in Chicago, so he knows our community somewhat. And then he found himself really on the front lines of one of the most frightening and disturbing front lines in the recent round of fighting in the city of Lod. And so we want to hear, first of all, what he saw, what he experienced there, and tell us a little bit about his community in Lod, what brought him there, what he tried to build there, what the prospects are for the future. And then also, please tell us about Ne'amanei Torah Avodah. What is the work that this organization does, and how can our congregation partner with you in that as well? So that's a lot of, it's a long agenda, but I'm really grateful for your time. And I guess everyone listening, if you have questions, please post the questions in the chat, and we'll try to monitor that and circle back and preserve some time for questions and answers as well. So that's so please begin. I'll quiet myself now.
So toda rabba, really toda rabba. I was a shaliach in Chicago for 16 years ago, but although that, my English is kacha kacha. So you feel free to correct me, to stop me, to ask questions or something like that. That's it. I was actually shaliach more in Skokie area, but also it's really the chavod to be in touch with the Anshe Sholom people and Skokie Valley people. Ezekef, really. I'm sharing the. Okay. So after we came back to Israel, we were looking for a cheap place to live in the center of Israel, close to Yerushalayim, Tel Aviv, but cheap. Nebuch. So we found a beautiful place. You see this beautiful thing? It's just here, 1 minute walk from my house, and I will show it later. This is a synagogue, Sha'arei Shamayim. That's a mosque, and that's a very known church, St. George. The original George that you know from the Christianity, that's from here, from Lod. So it's a very, and it's called Meshulash Hadatot, the triangle of the peace, Meshulash Shalom. Beautiful, yes? But unfortunately, now we came to live here. We took our kids, for example, last month to celebrate the Ramadan together with Arab kids in our sukkah here in Sukkot. 2 years ago, my wife invited many Arab women, our neighbors. I mean, we live together. It's shared society, and everything was really beautiful. But 3 weeks ago, as probably you heard, there was things that started in Yerushalayim, in Har HaBayit, in Sheikh Jarrah. I won't go into all this. And later, the Qassam, the missiles started to on Israel. And the Arab population here in this mosque that I showed you just now, they went out of the mosque and they were told that we are going to conquer their mosque, or we are going to burn it. And it started all, although we really didn't want it to do it. And probably you saw that. Can you hear that? Yes. So that. Now, what you see here, it looks, very far away, but actually, you see the smoke that you saw before with the flag? That's the smoke. Now, in order to explain where do I live, so I'm going to take my laptop for a second. I'm sorry, I know it's there. I'm going out of my porch. 1 second, there I go.
Shmuel, they asked what the people were saying, and they were saying, "Beruach v'bedam nifdeh Palestine." With blood and with spirit, we will bring redemption to Palestine.
As you see the mosque. I don't know if it's easy to see it, but it's here. That's the mosque. I don't know if you see it's green, and there's an alley here, and also that's the road. And here there is a square. From the other side, there is a square that I'm going to talk about it. Okay, so just. You can believe me that I really live here, and I'm not just, giving you a story. Let's close the window. Okay. Yeah, what they said is, we will free Al-Aqsa. With blood and fire, we will free Aqsa. And that's what we saw. And by the way, this is you see these lights here, it's the lights of the Ramadan that we celebrated, that was here a few days ago. And okay, so we were afraid that it's going to come to us. These Arabs started to burn 10 synagogues in this area. And then they burned a school, they burned started just to burn and to ruin many things. There was a tolerance museum that was built just now, and it was destroyed. And it was really frightening. I was terrified. Now, in order to explain a little bit what's going on here, so here is the map of the area. You see here the mosque, you see here the church and the synagogue, yes, what I showed you. Here there are a few blocks, a few buildings, and here is my house. Okay, so you see when I went out, I showed you the mosque. You see how much is close. And here is the square that I talked with you about. And look at this. What is this? What is this here? The Chicago Center, or the community center of Chicago. Yes, the Federation of Chicago donated many years ago a beautiful community center. So shkoyach, first of all. Okay, now who lives where? In Lod, we have, now it sounds bad, I know we are talking with Jews, that they are Orthodox, neo-Orthodox, we know to define the definitions, about Jews, but also Arabs. Arabs are not the same, and they have different groups. And generally in Lod, we have 4 different groups of them, of Arabs. Muslims, Arabs from 1948, and Christians, Arabs from 1948. Most of them live, for example, in my neighborhood. They are intellectual, doctors, lawyers. These are the people who live in my neighborhood, this neighborhood. But they're also collaborators. Collaborators, these are the people who help the intelligence, the Israeli intelligence, before Oslo agreements. And Israel, after the PLO and the Hamas become the leaders in Yehuda, Shimon, and Gaza, so they escaped, and the Israeli government brought them here to this neighborhood. So this neighborhood was a Jewish neighborhood before, but after the collaborators came, most of the Jews escaped to Modi'in and to Shoham. And actually now we have only collaborators' families and a little bit Ethiopian Jews families. Okay, and also Bedouin. Now, we have to understand that they're against each other all the time, and we are going to talk about it later. Also about the Ethiopian kids who live here in the poor neighborhood, I'm going to talk later. Can you hear something? You hear something now? That's the mosque now. It's night, it's Mariv. It's Mariv. Okay. So I don't know, it's going to disturb us a little bit now, but you can still hear me, I assume. Yalla, let's continue. So we were very afraid. We saw the smoke, we were very afraid. We went, what should we do? We called the police, and I went up to the porch, and I saw many Arabs that after they're burnt, all what they're burnt, they are coming close to us, and I don't know if you can see it here, they're burning everything that they see. And they got close to us, so I was on top of my porch with this water hose. Maybe that's going to stop them. We called the police, nothing's happened. And where I show you the square, so that's what happened there. That's an Arab person photo. As you can see, we were terrified that they're going to burn our houses with the kids. The police is not there because the police is busy with other places that were burned. Yes, I mean, all the poor neighborhood is burning now, so they didn't come to our neighborhood, which is a more it's not the poor, they couldn't come. We were terrified. 3 of my neighbors went down with a gun. They had a gun, and they said maybe that will help us. So they tried to maybe, to at the air to at air, and after that you can see what happened. Now, when I see it again, it's terrible. I saw it live from my porch, very close, and it was 3 days of, it was really terrible. For example, here the muazzin is calling. That's my son. He's saying, he's saying the Jews are going to burn our mosque, but we are not. We are not. And because of that, he made all the teenagers, the Arab teenagers, to be against us. But that's not one of our plan, and it's so chaval. And here, for example, you remember when I went out to show you the alley? Look, from the alley, there was a police. The day after, police comes. Someone throw on it a stone. And as you can see, he's shooting actually towards me. I have more pictures. The biggest thing that I wanted to show, I couldn't take a photo because I was like hiding. Okay, that's the situation that we had here. And again, we didn't start that. None of us wanted that to happen. Here in my sukkah, we invited the Arab population. We really want to live together. What shall we do? I will skip other things that over here. I won't talk about other stuff. That never mind. Let's here are the fireworks. One of the problematic things that we have here all the time. I have to say that there was one day that a group of Kahana people. You know what is it? Kahana people. Kahana La Familia. It's called in Israel. The one day came, the third day came a group of Michiganese, totally 100 Michiganese that started to throw stones on the Arab houses. I told them from here, don't throw the stone to somebody. So he took the stone and he threw it on me. A Jewish person. It was a Chilul Hashem, really Chilul Hashem. Baruch Hashem, the police took all of them and kicked them out of here. They are not people from Lod. This is a bunch of criminals, of Kahana people, Jewish people, but Baruch Hashem, the police took them. I'm saying it because just it was a specific case, and probably you saw the lynch that was in Bat Yam. 90% of the Jewish people are not like that, and we were totally wanted to have just peace and just to defend ourselves. Now, why? As you can see here, one of the main rabbi of the community said we should not do anything chas v'chalila against Arab people. We should keep and be all the time moral people. We should not touch their property. So I'm saying it because many people blamed us, like if we try to do something. No, totally no. It started by, unfortunately, a group of Arabs who started this, and we just tried to defend ourselves. Okay, now, what's next? What should we do? I don't want to waste our time with just crying and begging, and saying how terrible the situation is. I think we should talk tachlis, what can we do? And I will try to say that what should we concentrate now is with the crime. And I would like to explain it. I think this is the narrative we should use, and I will try to explain why. Look at this beautiful playground. This playground is just next to the Chicago Communal Center. Yes, that's the part of it. It was beautiful. It was built 7 years ago. The mayor put there a huge amount of money. People say that we're not giving enough money. No, he put there a huge amount of money. I went with my kids, and there were 2 Arab kids, 8 years old, jumping and ruining what was above, the taschacha, I don't know how to say that. They were ruining the they were ruining the covered
the
roof.
cover.
The shade
Yeah,
canopy.
Shade.
canopy.
And I said to him, go down, halas, ta'al, go, yalla, stana. Well, I mean, go down. They ignored me. So I asked the woman, the Arab woman, please talk with them. And there was an Arab woman who told me like that, I have nothing to do. I'm sorry, which means, but by the way, 2 weeks after I came and everything was ruined. As you can see here, I don't know if you can see, but there is no roof and most of the swings went down. What actually is the problem? And that's what I will try to say here. There is a problem of crime in Lod. And both us as Jews and both Arabs are suffering from that. That's the main problem here. The fact that we are talking that they have guns. Why do they have guns? It's not against us. It's against each other. I mean, it's called in Hebrew chamulot. I can think that the best translation to that is mafia. There is a mafiot here. That's the poorest. Neighborhood in Lod. And when I talked about collaborators, what does it mean? What kind of a person will be a collaborator? Imagine another person that will help the Israeli intelligence. It means that he is in a very problematic social problem. And now they came here and they're fighting each other, the Bedouins against the families, and every day this is what we have here. For example, half a year ago, in 2000, in the same window that I showed you before, there was we called as chisul. I don't know if that the word is to say that is elimination. Is that the word? Elimination?
Assassination.
So here, someone killed someone, and he is running from the same alley. You can hear the gun, and he killed someone else from here. Now, a few months before, I saw the same thing. Motzei Simchat Torah, we were doing Havdalah with all the kids. We heard the guns. We went to see from the windows, and my kids, they saw someone fell down, and the murderer trying to escape. I mean, that's what happened always here. Let's go to this thing. It was also in 2020. You see here, there are 6 burned cars, and you see the white, nice Mazda here, that's mine. And Baruch Hashem, nothing happened to my Mazda. Okay? But imagine, now what happened here? There was in Lod, there was a illegal housing. The mayor wanted to evacuate them with the police. So the day after, they burnt 6 cars in order to say, police, don't touch us. Don't do anything against us. So that is the problem. There is a problem of crime, of mafiot here. If you don't, and the police didn't deal with that for years, so now it's against us. Now, why I'm trying to say that that should be the narrative, because if we're going to talk about national things between Jews and Arabs, we're not going to solve it. We are going to, Tachlis won't be able to do anything. If we're going to talk about crime, we will have a lot of cooperation with the Arab leadership, because they suffer from us much, they suffer from that much more than us. So that's, and here, a few days after that, we went with my kids to Arabs and Jews together. That's my kids to demonstrate. We don't want any violence here. And again, if we're going to talk about crime, we're going to succeed. If we're going to talk about Jews and Arabs, we're going to fail. I'm going to stop for a second now before I'm going to talk to Ne'emnet Torah Avodah and the relations of Ne'emnet Torah Avodah to all what I talked here with the Ethiopians and the Arabs. But let's stop here for a second for some questions. And in Bali, if I said something that in Hebrew it sounds bad, in English it sounds bad, not like what I wanted to say. So this is why you are here. Please correct me.
First of all, I think you're right. And I just want to fortify what you've said. I visited Kfar Kasem about a month ago. and they had a family that they knew it was a criminal family that came to live, a chamula, okay, a large number of people who came to the Kfar Qasim to live there. And they basically bought all of their houses. They gathered 80 million shekels to buy all of their property, all of this chamula, and they said, just get out. And they, in a peaceful way, because they knew that once this chamula, this huge family, came to live in Kfar Qasim, there will be a lot of crime. So it's always on the news, and they're saying rightfully that there is too many guns and weapons in the Arab population, and we hear of unfortunate murders in the Arab population, and our ears are deaf to that. And that's the issue that Shmuel is saying, that we really this problem came now to our doorstep, but it's there, and there's a lot of suffering there as well. Shmuel, correct my words if I said anything wrong in English.
Yeah, totally correct. Now, again, we have many. Our next big conference that Nemnet Torah Avodah are going to do, and we planned that before what happened. We planned it a half a year ago. Our next conference is going to be together with imams to talk about how we call that which means we can be friends together with all those who believe in one God. But these imams that would like to come to our conference, they are afraid. They won't say anything if they know that one day someone from their family, from their area can shoot at them. So they're in the same problem like us, the moderate imams, and there are much more. By the way, they were here in law. There is only one imam that is very zealous. Okay, and I asked one of the Arabs, "What do you think about his name is Yusuf Elbaz? What do you think about Yusuf Elbaz? Are you familiar with his opinions? He's very Michigan, no?" So he told me he told me, if I'm going to ask you, what do you think about Rabbi, I don't know, a rabbi that is very, no one cares about him? I don't know, or he's very, what do you think about Kahana? Okay, about Kahana. So you say, no, Kahana, we don't think like him. So again, most of the people who don't think like this imam, but they are afraid. They won't say anything if tomorrow someone is going to shoot them. So let's call it a crime and let's deal with that. Any questions? Something?
Yeah, just if you'd say, maybe if we had this conversation next week, we'd be in a different situation. But in terms of the possibility of possible new governments in Israel, new minister for police, is there a possibility of maybe crime in the Arab sector being addressed and with more government resources and more attention? Is that something that's being talked about? Have any hope that this topic could have traction in a productive way in the coming weeks and months, especially after what happened?
I won't go into politics because I'm not allowed to, but I'm happy. I think that the way to deal with that is to have Mansour Abbas in the coalition, because that's the way to do it. If we're going to, again, that's the way to do it. They have, again, more than us, they're in a problem, the Arabs, and they're shouting it, and really they're suffering from that. If they're going to be part of the coalition, it's going to be much easier to do it, because we need to collect the guns. And to collect the guns, it's something very, very complicated, and it's going to be not easy.
Sorry.
No, go.
I have a question about the collaborators, the group that you call collaborators. Are they? Is it because they are opportunists? That what from a Jewish standpoint or an Israeli standpoint, I would have assumed that people who were willing to work with or give information to security would be thought of differently. But you're speaking of them as though their character is what put, or maybe some criminal activity or whatever has put them in a compromised position, and therefore they are less than ideal people. I just have never seen a category of collaborators, like the collaborators live here. So if you could talk about that a little bit.
I don't know if I have the good English, maybe Inbal will help me with that, but imagine if a family that lives in Shechem, in Nablus, okay? They decide, they live in Samaria, in Yudav Shimon, and they decide to help Israeli intelligence. It's not because that they are peace lovers. It's probably because that they are in a very low socioeconomical problem, and they need money in order to help them. And they prefer to get money and to help the enemy. I mean, this is the kind of the people that for money, they will help the enemy. So the tragedy is that the state of Israel brought them here, gave them houses, helped them, and really helped them. All the time they helped them. But they are not accepted by their people here, by the Arabs here. So I mean, no one wants them to enter their schools. No one wants to be in touch with them. So they have no choice then to go to the crime. I mean, it's a social problem finally. And this is why I want to continue now to talk about the area of the Jewish about the Jewish social problems here, which is related more to what we're doing in Emnet Torah V'Avoda. I don't know if I answered you or no, but I will be happy to later to continue with that. So let's now talk about a little bit about Emnet Torah V'Avoda and how is it connected to all this story. So now I want to say why I put here a white screen. I'm going to talk about social problems between Jews. It's not what made all this to happen. The Arabs started that. I'm going to talk about what happened here. It's not related. I'm saying it because there were some people who said, now I see there are zealous, there are Hardal people, and because of them, the Arabs did that. No, I don't want to connect it. I'm going to show a picture, and we will talk about it. Okay, so I'm saying it, and I will say it later also. So the purpose of Emnet Torah V'Avoda was established 40 years ago because of things that related to the to the religious education in Israel. Maybe I will talk about it later. If the Israeli society is like a pizza, yes, and we have different slices, so Emnet Torah V'Avoda is concentrating in the slice of the religious Zionists. There is a slice of Haredi people, slice of secular people, Arabs, there are many, many slices. Now in pizza, what do we have in the edge? We have the crust, the thing that you don't want to eat. So each slice has the crust, which means, you see my kippah? I have the same kippah like Itamar Ben-Gvir. I don't know if you know his name. He's a very zealous Kahana, Talmid of Kahana, okay? I have the same kippah. We are here in the same slice. But he is here in the edge, and I'm here in the center. And although we have the same kippah, I'm closer to one here in the center, to the people here in the center, more than I'm close to him that he's in the edge, okay? And the purpose, now let's talk about what we're trying to do. The purpose of Emnet Torah, actually all the time, the people in the edge are trying to push the majority of the people to the edge. The purpose of Emnet Torah is to push us to the center, okay? What does it mean? Let's explain it a little bit more. There is the mainstream of the religious Zionists. There is a question, where does it go? More to the right? Or more to the right or more to the left? What happened here? Oops, something. Okay, it should have moved. I don't know why it's not moving. We are trying to move it more to the center. That's the purpose of Emnet Torah V'Avoda. Okay, so how, tachlas, why, how does it happen? So let's go and see the system. Let's see actually the process. And here is where we're starting to work. This is the gender mixed classes in religious education in first grade. We're talking about 460 schools in Israel, elementary schools. Once, 20 years ago, most of them were co-ed, boys and girls together. Today, most of them are separated, which means that a child 6 years old is never going to see a girl in his class, which means that it's going to be very hard for him to go later to university or to be in a co-ed place in the army. It's going to be very hard for him. This is a very important thing. Now, I can show you the same thing like in how we treat general studies and other stuff. What happened? How suddenly so many classes become separated? How suddenly the Chardal, the Haredim Leumim, the national religious Zionist people in Israel, the Haredim, become such more bigger and bigger and bigger. I'll try to give, in order to explain that, to give an example. This is an example that I showed in front of the Minister of Education. This one, the previous one, and also I show it in television. I will show that to you. Here, look at Sderot. This is a city in the south. There were 2 elementary schools in Sderot. Open-minded, liberal, co-ed, boys and girls together, learning math, physics, Gemara, and by thinking, very liberal, like us, open-minded. One day came a new Garin Torani to Sderot, and the Garin established a Torani school, which is separated, is more Chardal, more Haredi Leumi. Now, what we see here is the low socioeconomical level. These schools accepted everyone, Ethiopian kids, low socioeconomic, everyone. This school didn't accept them. In this school, there are almost no Ethiopian kids, almost no kids who live in Sderot. Actually, most of the kids, it's not nice to say that, it's not, just imagine it, there are more blonde hair. Do you know what I mean? I'm sorry about those who are blonde here, but that's the idea. Now, the second thing that I want to show here, which school through all the state of Israel got the biggest budgets in the state of Israel in 2014? This one, the Torani. They got the biggest amount of money, of budgets from the state of Israel. So imagine, you now live in Sderot. You are modern Orthodox, moderate, open-minded. You are a doctor, and you think where next year to send your kids to first grade. To which school are you going to send them? To a very integrative school with Ethiopian kids, or to a school, Haredi school, but Chardal school, but with more hours, more budgets, and most of the kids are in a very high economical level? Where are you going to send your kids? Yes, to this one. That is the process that I showed you. The process is based a lot about social problems, and I will be, if I have time, and I don't have, I will be able to convince you that how much that's the, I can give you much more details in order to show you. A few years ago, there was a program that came and asked me, how come they get so much budgets, this school, this Chardal school? So I told the people there, I told them they have a big lobby. I mean, we modern Orthodox people, we are working, we don't have time to make a lobby. But the Chardal people, they have Mesirat Nefesh, not like us. We don't have Mesirat Nefesh, they have Mesirat Nefesh. They have a big lobby. And therefore, if a politicians will come to Sderot, will come to Lod. I will talk about Lod in a second. Who are they going to meet? They're going to meet the low socioeconomic people? No, they're going to meet the highest socio-economic levels. So here the reporter said, when he told us that to us a few months ago, we didn't think. Oh, I'm sorry. Oops, I jumped. Oh, I jumped. I jumped. So when he said that to us, we didn't think, where Benjamin Netanyahu opened the first day of the 1st of September, in which school? Yes. You see, in Torani Chadash, in this school, which means that's the elitistic school, segregated school, Chardal school. And again, that's the problem. So what we are doing in the Network Avda is, first of all, to solve the social community problems. That's the main thing. Second thing is the resources, personnel, Because even, okay, you solve the problems. And now, a few years ago came a big donor to me and he said, I'm going to establish 100 SAR. Okay. I told him, great, you have the money, Mitsuyan. Do you have teachers in order to sponsor that? So it's not enough. And then also education perception. That's what we are doing generally in the field of education. We're doing also in religion, state, and other stuff, but that's the main thing. How is it related to Lod? Let's go back after this thing. That's my daughter. You see the Gingit here, the red hair? 8 years ago, we came to Lod. We were looking for a school. One school was only for boys, Hardal school. The Garena Torani made it to be only for boys. One school was only for girls, also kind of a Hardal school. And there was only one.
Maybe you can explain a little bit about the Garin Torani, because there was another question in the chat that's also related to, can you define what is a Garin Torani? That's a Torah nucleus. I think this needs explanation at this point.
Garin Torani is a group of people who are coming in order to, let's say, the idea is very nice. It's like to come to a very low socioeconomical place and to help the people and to be there. I mean, that's the idea of Garin. Garin is a seed.
A nucleus.
Actually, yes. A seed. I mean, we're coming to be with them, with Amcha Israel. I mean, especially after the disengagement, people felt that we were in very different, we lived in Efrat, okay? All the religious people, where Efrat is a place of religious people. We weren't part of Am Israel. So Garin, the point is to live with Am Israel and to go to the periphery, like Lod. The problem that many times the Garin actually built a settlement in the city. I mean, and as I said before, in Sderot, their school, the school of the Garin, is the elitistic school. So what did he do? And also here in Lod, there were 3 schools, one for boys, one for girls of the Garin, and the third school is the co-ed. So I saw it's a beautiful school. Everything is excellent there. We came to see the school, and we saw that 68% of the students there are Ethiopian kids. And the gap, I mean, there is a huge gap, of social gap between the schools. So we were hesitating to learn there, not to learn, to send our kids, not to send our kids. You can imagine what my in-law told me. She told me, you're crazy. You're sacrificing your children because of your job. We were 4 families who started there. It was excellent. For them, they don't see any difference between white kids and Ethiopian kids. It's the same. It's like, I have glasses, you don't have glasses. It's this. I mean, they don't see it. These Ethiopian kids are totally Israelis. Their parents, most of them were born in Israel. They don't see the differences. We were so happy. Year after, 19 families came. Year after, we established 3 classes, 3 first grade, 4 first grade classes, and we are already now 3 years with 5 first grade classes. I mean, the school is huge. And the main thing, the Ethiopian kids are still there. There was no gentrification. Probably you know this name. There was no gentrification. Okay, now, so we are in Lod, and it's excellent. And these kids, where do they live? In this poor neighborhood. Remember the poor neighborhood that I talked before, where all the balagan was? They live there. And a few years ago, another Garin Torani came, Garin Torani of Haramor, more zealous, and they established Talmud Torah, where? In this poor neighborhood. Okay, you see this Talmud Torah in this poor neighborhood. What do we have in this neighborhood? Only Arabs and Ethiopian kids. Do you see any Ethiopian child here in this Talmud Torah? No. That's my school. Yes, this is my school of my kids. That's the Talmud Torah. There are no Ethiopian kids. Actually, the Ethiopian kids from this poor neighborhood, every morning, going on their buses, and coming to our children's school. As you can see here, that's the gap officially between the schools, but we don't have time to talk about it. I can go more and more into show how the gaps are. I mean, we check that in our researches. I will skip it. we have this problem everywhere through all the country, and I will be happy to explain that, but we don't have, I'm afraid we don't have time to that. This is one of the biggest reasons of why the Hardal schools becoming bigger and bigger, because of social problems. But I mean, Rav David, how much time do we have?
We have another 10 minutes so we can always follow up with a different session, but we have 10 minutes now, so yeah.
Okay, so I will really skip, because we won't have time to give more details. I will just, I mean, there are gaps for many. What I'm trying to say that here in Lod, as there are gaps between the Arabs, there are also gaps between the Jewish population. And we can show that the liberal schools are mostly accepting all the kids, all the low socioeconomic level kids, like the Ethiopian kids. The Hardal schools, those who are more religious, more to the right, are not accepting them. And if we are not going to solve the social problem, the moderate population in Israel won't be able to be strong. I know it's totally not relevant to America. In America, everything is private. Here, the schools are public, and therefore we have that's one of the main things that we have to solve first of all.
Just to clarify, the Torah schools are also public schools. Is that, or they're
yes? Though some of them private. For example, the Talmud Torah that was established is a private school. Most of the Torah schools are from the government, and that's our job to make sure that, for example, now this morning I'm dealing with in the coalition agreement to make sure that the budgets of the liberal schools and the Torah schools will be equal. And Baruch Hashem, by the way, we succeeded in the last three years. We succeeded that the budgets are now equal in most of the things. We succeeded that now more and more kids are going to co-ed schools. You can see I showed you the red thing here, but now Baruch Hashem, it's getting better. We succeeded that the gaps between 2013 until now are getting lower. We succeeded in having more science learning, general studies in the Mamlachti Dati. It was always low, and now it's better. I can show you many things. I will be happy to show a small movie that actually summarizes all this, and then we're going to stop for questions. Okay, it's a 2-minute movie. We're going to see it, and then we're going to stop to questions. These are the people who work in Emnet Torah. Maybe we'll go talk about them later, and let's see the movie. Put your ears here, listen.
When Yochai was preparing for his first date with Yael, he was warned that she will constantly complain because she's Polish. Yael was told that Yochai is probably the angry type because he's Moroccan. One date was enough for them both to realize that it's all just stigmas. In the delivery room, the midwife who delivered the twins was not only blonde, she was also the ward manager. Even the newborns understood that it was all stigmas. Now, Dani and Hila are starting first grade, and Yochai and Yael need to make an important decision. Co-ed mamad or separate mamad? The stigmas, of course, they put aside. So what are the actual facts? Well, the co-ed mamad schools accept almost twice as many students who come from low social economic backgrounds. Does this negatively affect the academic achievements? Turns out, not really. The achievements of both types of schools are similar. In most subjects, they actually found higher academic achievements in the co-ed mamad schools and not in the separate ones. Yes, even amongst the girls. But grades aren't everything. What about the educational atmosphere? Here as well, despite the stigmas, the difference is small and actually in favor of the co-ed mamad, both in the positive attitude of the students towards their school and their positive attitudes towards their fellow classmates. In the co-ed mamad, the students also reported less involvement in violence and a higher feeling of safety. So what is the conclusion? One thing is certain, we all want what's best for our children. So before we decide between a co-ed or a separate mamad, let's put the stigmas aside. Spread the word and join us at the co-ed mamads.
And I have to say, by the way, that mostly there's a problem of many times people who are making Aliyah, by the way, they have a this is a mistake that they are doing many times, because they see a school with Ethiopian kids, excellent school, huge grades, and they're afraid because they, they in America it's a little bit was different. So Baruch Hashem, here we are succeeding and we have a lot of success, but that's our work here, and it's related to a lot because finally we have to solve the social problems and in order to help. But just yalla questions. I will be happy to hear questions or things that I said that they are not. If I said something which wasn't clear or קשקשתי יותר מדי, בקיצר.
How do the Torah schools exclude Ethiopian or low socioeconomic kids? If it's a government school, don't they have to accept everyone? What's the basis for excluding those families?
Good question. For example, if we're going to say that there is a lot of תשלומי הורים, how you say תשלומי הורים? We're going to ask
payments.
Yeah, for example, by
parents make
payments, we are going to ask them
tuition. It's not really tuition, it's extras.
And also, for example, and I can show that that's my job to make sure that it's not happening, but many times it happens that the principal will say to the family, here it's a very religious school and you have to have your sleeves should be till here, and if you're not covering your hair, you won't be able to accept. These things are illegal, but none of the families mostly will go to the court. So they will say, okay, it's not for me, I'm gonna go to a different place. And so this is why I can give you more examples, and maybe sometimes they make tests. And yes,
I have another question. Is there a difference between let's say your community, the synagogue you attend, and the families who send the children to the schools that your school attends, and the Garin Torani in Lod in terms of their attitude towards their Arab neighbors? You feel like that's do they also attend Ramadan meals in the sukkah? Like is that ethos of coexistence, is that shared, or is that also or not?
Okay, so first of all, yes, there are different groups also in the Garin Torani, like Jewish people. There are there are people of the Garin Torani who learned in the Gush Yeshiva, and there are people in the Garin Torani who learned in the Har Hamor Yeshiva, which is totally different area. So I don't want to generalize. It's a different thing. Now, before I'm going to answer the question, also I want to say all what I'm going to say here, it's not related to what happened, to the fire that we got. I don't want to blame the Garin on that, okay? I have to say that. But yes, there is a difference. And, a week ago, I was in a meeting with someone here, an Arab person, who told me that he couldn't do things together with the group of Har Hamor. That they didn't want to send their kids together with his kids in the soccer group or something like that. And he said, the Jewish people of the Garin are not, they don't like Arabs. I told him, they don't like me also. They didn't send their kids to my school. So it's not, that's what I'm trying to say. There are social problems here. And if you take a group of people who are Har Hamor and put them in a neighborhood, poor neighborhood, and they don't accept the Ethiopian kids, what do you think, that they're going to be nice to the Arab population? It's the same thing. Now, again, they didn't burn anything. They didn't try to burn the mosque or something like that. I'm not chas v'chalila blaming any Jewish person in trying to kill someone else, chas v'chalila. But social problems, yes, there is a problem. That's exactly what we're trying to do. To help the moderate schools, to have the moderate voice. We are publishing all the time publications in order to to encourage people to be with each other, open-minded. But yes, there is a problem, and there are different opinions.
I have one more question, and others should also ask questions too, and put them in the chat or just say them. But are you committed to staying in Lod? Are your friends staying in Lod? Are you thinking of moving? Like, what's moving? You know, looking ahead, how do you feel?
Yes, we need to stay. Yes, we want to stay here. We hope that now, after the problem of I mean, we really hope that things will be better. The last 2 weeks, Baruch Hashem, it's quiet here, and also the police start work, and we need to work here very, very hard, because it's you need intelligence. I hope it's going to be much better. So we are staying. We're not going anywhere else.
Okay, thank you. If people want to be in touch, maybe you can give us. I mean, I have you. There's a question from Linda, and then just a little interaction in Jewish and Arab schools in Lod. Do you want to say a slight word about that, and then
Complicate. Let's say, first of all, in the Mamlachti Dati schools, religious schools, there are no Arab population at all. Okay. Now, in the secular schools, in the Mamlachti schools of the secular people, they are Arab. Let's say that the intellectual Arabs will send their kids to the Jewish schools. Okay. Why? Because they don't want to be with the collaborators and with the Bedouins. Okay. Now, the secular population in Lod don't want their kids to be with the Arabs. Yes. So where they will send their kids to the Mamlachti Dati, nachon? So the secular will send their kids to the Mamlachti Dati because they don't want their kids to be with the Arabs. So in the Mamlachti Dati, like in my school, there are many secular people, and there are people who don't like secular people to be with them. So therefore, they established this Talmud Torah. Remember, I told you about the Talmud Torah they established because they didn't want that their kids will be with secular people. So it's like a, you know what I mean? And it's like a circle, and the mayor every day he needs to deal with problems that they don't want to accept these kids, and because of that they don't want to accept these kids and these kids and these kids, and Nebech. By the way, you can come to my school. It's an old school, very old. Go to the Arab school here where the collaborators learn. It's a beautiful new building. I'm saying it because many people want to say it's because the state of Israel that didn't give money or something that. No, there is lots of money that the state puts here, and they really, really want to solve the problems of the Arab population here. But still, there are social problems, and that's the main thing. And Bedouins will be always in less level than they are for the Arabs. I mean, they have a very social problems. We have, and together it's a big chunk.
Also, we need to maybe say that this has been almost 2 years with no budget for Israel and no permanent government, and there is and this is really there's a decay here. That's very, very deep in all systems. The police is suffering from that, the education system, the social system, everything suffers from not having a permanent government and a permanent budget for so long. So this is a symptom, what happened here, the fact that we cannot control crime, that we cannot answer people who need to get evacuated from the south because of the missiles. The government has not done their job. In that sense, is because we do not have a government, and as we are all people of faith, I really need you guys to pray that we have a permanent government and that we don't go on to new elections next year. My son has asked me, Ima, how many times do we go into elections? He is 6, and he asked me about the president. I said, you know, we go every 4 years to elections. He said, but Ima, we went to election, we go to elections so many times. I said, well, you know, Nebech, like Shmuel is saying, but we are really, really, this is becoming a national holiday too many times now, having, you know, going to elections. And this is what Israel needs now. We need, you know, stability. We need to know where we're going, we need a budget. We need to plan ahead. We need to be not Israelis in, trying to find last minute solutions. We need to plan ahead and to know where we're going and to solve problems in depth. And what happened in Lod is that it all erupted in our faces, this crime problem. And what Shmuel is trying to do is really go into the depths and trying to solve these issues of liberalism and trying to affect these trends in a very smart way. So really, let's pray that we have a government.
Hey, thank you. We certainly will. And if we would like to be involved, can you give? There's your website. Thank you. So say a word about how we can be supportive moving forward, and let's commit to being in touch in the coming weeks and hearing more and doing more together. Yeah.
So really, toda rabba. In the website, you can find my cell phone. You can reach us. We have Facebook. We have everything. I admit that most of what we are doing is in here because that's what we are trying to change and to do. But really, I'll be happy to be in touch in Chicago, guys. That's the. Toda rabba. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very, very much, and we'll be in touch moving forward. And thank you everyone for listening. And please, and tomorrow, tomorrow is Memorial Day, but Tuesday, Wednesday, this recording should be on the synagogue's YouTube page. So please share with others who weren't able to join us today. And so thank you all for joining. Thank you, Shmuel, and best of luck to you. And Baal, thank you as well. Really, all of you in Israel. Just we're thinking of you. You're in our hearts, and just good luck and hatzlacha. All right. Take care. Good afternoon, everyone here. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, Seth Rosenberg. Bye-bye.
Shmuel.
Good to see you.
Seth Rosenberg.
Yeah. How are you? We were Chavruta.
Fine, Baruch Hashem.
Good to see you.
So good to see you.
We learned the Chavruta together, and
back in
made a smicha with Rav,
Yes.
with Rav Schwartz. Alav Shalom.
Very nice.
God willing, we will be visiting a year from it's going to take us a little while, but a year from September, God willing, we'll be there for a while. So
we'll come in our website. You can see my mail or something. Let's be in touch. As a gift.
No, definitely. Let's be in touch. Going forward sooner. Thanks so much.
All right.
Toda rabba. Bye.
It's very
Have a
fun.
nice run.
Okay.
Be well.